Naveen Mishra, Gartner, is joining us. He's the vice president at Gartner. And Naveen and his team have put out a note, a very positive one, saying that second half of this year, going into 24, actually you should witness improvement in IT spends, global IT majors. Now, this is quite in contrast, Naveen. Thanks very much for joining us. Than what the rest of the world believes. So, what's your finding, actually, your interactions and your surveys, which you work very closely with global corporations? How come such a stark difference in opinion?
Thanks for having me. So there is no recession in IT world. Now, for 2023, we have projected about 4.3% growth, and that moves to 8 plus percentage in 2024. As part of our research, what we felt is IT software and services are going to be the two big underpinning drivers in 2023 and 24 as well. Yes, we acknowledge that there are macroeconomic headwinds, and because of that, there is a change in the way big corporates around the world are looking at IT. So IT was earlier only a tool to drive engagement and growth with a business. And that actually continues. That does not change. However, the interesting part that we see in the last 3 to 6 months, especially given some of the caution that the CIOs and the boards are practicing, is number one, look inward. Use IT to drive employee productivity, employee engagement. Also, looking into a lot of internal systems such as ERP, CRM, and that is actually a big part of why the software spend. So when I talk about 4.3% growth for 23, actually, software is the only segment which is expected to grow in double digit, about 13% for 2023. So a lot of the software vendors out there who are engaging in this, yes, your end customers are looking at specific solutions that help them to be more efficient. And then finally, the services area, where for 23, we made just some adjustments, but still we are saying it's about 8 plus percentage point growth and moving into 12% double digit growth for IT services. Talent remains a big differentiator, is a big concern that the corporations have. Now, to address that, they are going to engage with services companies. And within services, especially the consulting, the business consulting, the technology consulting, those are the areas where we expect more spend to happen. So all in all, I hope this substantiates the fact that there is no IT recession.
No, I don't think that anybody is calling out for an IT recession. Everybody understands this is just timely, a time difference, if at all, in terms of the lag of bookings and ramp downs that we are seeing. But Naveen, I just wanted to bring out 2 points. Of course, one is the interesting one where you talked about the double-digit growth will come back in 2024. So 2023 might be a bit of a blip, but we'll see that sharp recovery in 2024. And the other one that you said about the companies looking inwards. Does that mean that they're getting out of the outsourcing mode and maybe looking at building up their own teams? Because this is one thing that generative AI was also expected to disrupt, that people thought that companies and corporations will start spending inwards and setting up their own teams. And that would raise a big question mark for the entire disruption of IT services in India, at least.
I mean, you made a very good point here. So 2, 3 things. Number one, organizations are looking inward, which means, can I train my people? Can I do things which are high value? Now, does this impact outsourcing in a big way? The answer is no, because a lot of the outsourcing is low value. So the low value stack of the outsourcing is not getting impacted. And then if you look at that low value and bring the killer app, which is the generative AI today, that is, all of that is going to be taken care of with that piece. But where we see more in-world real stuff happening is business layer, high value impacts. And I think that's an area where services companies need to invest into building practices. business consulting, technology consulting, advisory, even sustainability consulting, given all the awareness that we think that we look at from a sustainability perspective, these are the high impact areas where inward conversations are happening rather than the low value stuff, which is more infrastructure, more commodity, more outsourcing. That's not necessarily getting too impacted. Yes, there could be price pressures. I get, that's one area. Because of the inflation, because of the macroeconomic headwinds, there could be price pressure on it, but this is not going to radically change the outsourcing business.
What about the kind of I want to understand is what's the position? Are the new contracts being negotiated at much more stricter pricing regime? You made a point of talent. Is talent starting to make an issue? Because if talent comes back as a key issue, which means wage hikes will come back, and so will pressurize the margins of these large companies here.
As far as the sourcing and the contracts are concerned, number one, the contracts are definitely seen with a lot of caution. We see more number of influencers and scrutiny in the deal, which clearly means there are going to be questions asked about the business impact. So it's not the technology solution, it's the business impact, and that changes the conversation. Sometimes this would translate into tougher pricing contracts as well, because more people trying to get that. So yes, the whole margin situation is going to be tight. That's number one. Number two, what we're also seeing is customers wanting to do more short-term contracts rather than 5-year, 10-year contracts. They want to look into 1-year, 2-year contract because that gives them a better visibility on the ROI. I mentioned business impact. So if you're looking at a business solution, are you able to see an impact in the next 12 months or so? Because let's face it, a lot of IT services contracts will be 5-year, 7-year, 10-year. And in today's regime, it is difficult for all companies to justify that kind of spend with that long-term view. So those are the two underpinning forces that we definitely see impacting the contracts. But yes, contracts are being signed.
Naveen, thank you very much for joining us with those inputs. That was Naveen Mishra of Gartner.